Welcome to Catan VR. The island of Catan lies before you. Your goal is to settle Catan, expanding your territory until it becomes the largest and most glorious in the land. The island consists of 19 randomly placed terrain tiles surrounded by ocean. There are 5 types of resource-generating terrain, each of which produces a different resource. There is also a desert, which produces nothing. Hills produce brick. Forests produce lumber. Mountains produce ore. Fields produce grain. Pastures produce wool. Each player begins the game by placing 2 settlements and 2 roads. Each settlement is worth 1 victory point. The first player to get to 10 victory points on their turn wins the game. You gain victory points by building new roads and settlements, and upgrading existing settlements into cities. Each city is worth 2 victory points. Some development cards also award victory points. To build or upgrade, you need resources. Each turn, players roll 2 dice to determine which terrain tiles produce resources. Terrain tiles are marked with number tokens. If an 8 is rolled, all terrain tiles with an 8 produce resources. Players collect resources if they own a settlement or a city bordering on these activated terrain tiles. As settlements and cities border multiple terrain tiles, they harvest different resources based on the roll of the dice. And since it's impossible to have settlements adjacent to all terrain tiles, you may receive certain resources at rare intervals, or never. Luckily, you can trade with other players to get the resources you need. On your turn, you can do the following. Roll the dice for resource production. Trade resource cards with other players and the bank. Build roads, settlements, and cities, and buy development cards. And play a single development card you bought on a previous turn. When you're done with your turn, play passes to the player on your left. To trade resources, select which resources you need, and which resources you are willing to trade. Players can match an offer, or respond with a counterproposal. During your turn, you can also trade with the bank at a 4-to-1 ratio by offering 4 identical resources for 1 of any other resource you want. If you have a settlement or city adjacent to a harbor, you can trade with the bank on more favorable terms. Generic harbors, marked with a question mark, allow you to trade any resource with the bank at a 3-to-1 ratio. Special harbors allow you to trade a specific resource with the bank at a 2-to-1 ratio. There is a maximum number of each type of structure you're allowed to place on the board. 5 settlements, 4 cities, and 15 roads. Building a road requires 2 resources, 1 brick and 1 wood. New roads must be placed so that they connect to one of your existing roads, settlements, or cities. The first player to build 5 continuous roads, not counting forking paths, receives the longest road marker, worth 2 victory points. If another player builds a longer road, they take the longest road marker and its 2 victory points. The length of each player's longest road can be seen above their avatar, as well as who has the longest road victory condition. Building a settlement requires 1 brick, 1 lumber, 1 wool, and 1 grain, and awards 1 victory point. Settlements are built at the intersections of terrain tiles and must connect to one of your roads. You may not build a settlement adjacent to another settlement or city. There must be at least 1 unoccupied intersection between a new settlement and an existing city or settlement. Building a city requires 3 ore and 2 grain and awards 2 victory points. Cities are upgrades to existing settlements. To build a city, you must have at least 1 settlement on the board. Building a city removes that settlement from the table. When the dice are rolled and terrain tiles produce resources, cities produce twice what settlements do, 2 resources each. On a dice roll of 7, no resources are generated. The robber prevents it. Additionally, all players with more than 7 resource cards must discard half their resources, rounded down. The player who rolled the 7 then places the robber in a new terrain tile, stealing a random resource card from a player with an adjacent settlement or city. If the robber is placed adjacent to multiple players, the player placing the robber chooses who to steal from. Buying a development card requires 1 ore, 1 wool, and 1 grain. There are 5 types of development cards: Knight, Monopoly, Road Building, Year of Plenty, and Victory Point. You can see how many development cards a player has on the panel above their avatar. On your turn, you may play a single development card. You may not play a development card on the turn you buy it. Playing a Knight card allows you to move the robber to a new terrain tile, just like rolling a 7. Once played, each Knight counts towards your largest army. The first player to play 3 Knights receives the largest army marker, worth 2 victory points. If another player plays more Knights, they claim the largest army marker and its 2 victory points. The number of Knights played can be seen above each player's avatar, as well as who currently has the largest army victory condition. Monopoly allows you to choose a single resource and forces everyone else to give you all the resources of that type that they possess. Road building gives you 2 free roads to place on the board. Year of Plenty gives you any 2 resources of your choice. And finally, each victory point card adds 1 point to your victory point total. Victory point cards stay hidden and are only revealed to other players if you win the game. And unlike other development cards, victory point cards are immediately used on the turn that they're bought. Each player's victory points can be seen on the panel above their avatar. If you have 10 or more victory points at any point during your turn, you win the game. Congratulations! You are now familiar with the rules of Catan. Press Start Game to begin a game versus friends and AI, or find opponents to search for a live multiplayer match.